Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my first review for the premiere episode of The Walking Dead Season 11. This is for Acheron Part 1. Alright, and spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen this first episode yet for The Walking Dead Season 11. So, Acheron Part 1, and then I think, let's see, is it next week or the week after? Maybe a couple weeks we'll get to see, Part 2 for Acheron. So that's The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 2. So what is an Acheron? So an Acheron is a Greek mythology. In ancient Greek mythology, Acheron was known as the River of Woe and was one of the 5 rivers of the Greek underworld. So that's where the name comes from for these first couple of episodes. And we do see that in this episode as we see our group of survivors kind of be forced due to some rainfall, very heavy rainfall, to kind of go into an underground section here in Washington as they're kind of heading towards the section that the Reapers have kind of taken over in order to attempt to take it back. Now, this episode has aired a week early on AMC Plus. If you guys have AMC Premiere or AMC Plus, as they're calling it now, you can watch it now. You can watch it a week early. If everybody else is going to be Sunday night, the 22nd for the premiere for Season 11. And it is an awesome premiere. We have a few different parts to this episode. I'd say specifically maybe three parts to it. There's a little part there in Alexandria where they're kind of discussing what they're going to do because they're running out of food. But basically, we get an introduction, a sequence of our survivors on a roof, opening up with Daryl kind of facing away from the camera in a pretty cool shot. It goes from there to them sort of dropping into this building, which it shows on the wall is Fort Connors, where they have a lot of sustainable food for their military there in big packages and whatnot. And we find out that Alexandria has been adding on survivors from the different communities kind of post-Whisperer War. So they have been, adding to their numbers. And as a result, they need more food to feed everybody, in that their crops and everything are not growing right now after the Whisperer War. So they have to try to kind of scramble and find as much food as they can for everybody because they have a lot of people to feed. And at this point in time in the zombie apocalypse, which is like 11 years in or so, in terms of the Walking Dead timeline, there just isn't a lot, slim pickings out there in terms of being able to go out and scavenge and find food. A lot of it's already been taken, and then the amounts that hasn't will be in spots that are pretty tricky to go into, such as we see here in the opening sequence with the kind of drop in as they're dropping in off the rooftop into Fort Connors. And it is a pretty cool introductory sequence. I like to see it the way they're it's something different. We've only seen a few scenes in the Walking Dead series where they've kind of used rooftops and kind of dropping in. I think was it the big spot? Is that what it was called in the Walking Dead Season 4, where they were sort of on the roof and kind of collapsing in and stuff from or they weren't on the roof, but the roof was collapsing in from a helicopter that had kind of crashed there. That was kind of a cool introductory scene for that season. Something similar here for this season, as you have the women that go in. You got Maggie, Rosita, Carol, and the Magna who kind of drop in, and Kelly who drop in. And you have Daryl and the others kind of on the roof that are sort of helping support them there. But a pretty cool scene where you have kind of all of it looks like Fort Connors was blocked off. So all of the walkers that were inside of it, it's a pretty cool situation to see, have all sort of run out of oxygen. So they've all kind of passed out on the ground there. And when they sort of open up the oxygen, they start to kind of not reanimate, but they start to kind of, come alive again a little bit. And then there's the part where a bag is about to drop, and Daryl grabs it, and it accidentally cuts him, and so you have a drop of blood, a little bit of bloodletting. A drop of blood comes down, and the smell of blood basically wakes them all up, pretty much. So it's a pretty exciting scene, to what can kind of be expected at this point for Walking Dead, right, to see something like that. But it was pretty cool, and I can't recall a time where you see them all so many walkers around and they're all just passed out because they didn't get any air hasn't been allowed into the facility in probably years and years. So they're just all in a lump on the floor until they get up, and you have a pretty cool scene of kind of them having to kill them all off and then sort of attach and then go up on the drops on the ropes or wires. So we have that part. I was under the impression that there was more food there that they hadn't grabbed. And it kind of seems like they've decided sort of not to go back there because of the amount of walkers that are there. But unless they didn't kind of show that part, and there were other sections there that had more food, it looked like. But maybe I kind of misinterpreted that and they got most of the food that was there. But I did think there was more there. And if they would have gone back and cleared it out, that probably wouldn't be too hard to do. If you had more people sort of break into the place and kill the rest of the walkers that are there. That probably, I think, would be safer, most likely, than facing a group of other survivors like the Reapers that are very, very formidable. We've seen them in the previews, kind of what they look like and everything. So, surprising that they're not going to be going back there. At least we don't see it. Maybe I misinterpreted and they did get most of the food, but it kind of seemed like Carol sort of scrambled to get a little bit. They got a little bit, and then they left, but it wasn't that much. It did seem like there was more there, but it doesn't look like they're going to be going back there. So then we get the scene. We get the intro, which is a new intro. Instead of the Whisperers kind of lit up in the intro, we get sort of the Commonwealth soldiers that are kind of there in the background. And as the walkers are kind of coming forward, and the intro titles for Walking Dead, which are a further disintegrating and disintegrating, I imagine might disintegrate right down to almost nothing by the time we get to this final episode for this season. So it feels like from this episode, the Whisperers are gone for good. It feels like they're finished for good. It doesn't seem like to me we're going to see any further little offshoots of Whisperers, even like a couple here and there or anything. It seems like they are 100% finished, and we won't likely be seeing them again in the series. Their time is done. Well, we only have 23 episodes left after this one, so it makes sense that they would be totally finished with that, taken out of the intro and everything else. So then we get Alexandria, which is being rebuilt, and it looks very cool because it's been it's kind of our most long-running location for The Walking Dead. They were at the prison for a little while there for a couple years. There was some other locations like Herschel's Farm and such they stayed at for a little bit, Kingdom and the Hilltop and others. But Alexandria is the longest running spot that the Walking Dead television series has had in terms of a location throughout it. So it's cool to kind of see them back home trying to rebuild. They don't really have the food or resources right now to really fully fix the wall and fully kind of rebuild back up. But build back better. But at some point here, it seems like they're likely going to do that. So it's in the process. We have everybody kind of meeting. They're deciding what they're going to do. And Maggie proposes the idea that they maybe get some vengeance here, or they go back and they take out the Reapers and then take the food that's there at what I believe she called it the Meridian, which is a cool name. She kind of tells a story that they kind of went off, and then when they got kind of stranded or stuck, and then their group was basically slaughtered, or a lot of them were. And we meet Duncan, Agatha, and Frost, I believe are their names, the ones that are kind of coming back from Maggie's group. I think the one's got an eye tattoo. I think it's Duncan. Is that his name? And is the Eye of Horus he has there? I'm not sure. I got to look at it again after. But that's kind of cool symbolism for they get me an all-seeing eye, guys. I get an all-seeing eye in The Walking Dead. Yeah. So new one here. Where's it? Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Anyway, so it's cool group. Okay, I like them already, right? So we'll see what happens with them. Pretty cool, and Maggie sort of coming to the forefront in this episode. I'd almost say it's a standout character for the episode, which is good because she hasn't been in The Walking Dead for a long time. She's finally back now, And then, we forget going into it that, oh, right, Negan's also there. So that makes for some interesting stuff in this episode, which I really like. So we have that happening. So they kind of head off. Now, all the while this is happening, we get a few things with the Commonwealth, which, is kind of like the other parts are kind of darker. They're in the under tunnel section there, subway type section. And then on the other side, you have the Commonwealth, which is kind of bright and sunny and everything. But we get to see Mercer for the first time. We get some funny stuff with Eugene. I always like to see Eugene. I think he's fun. The zip code, they start asking him all these questions. Who remembers their zip code? And Eugene, remembers it from, decade to decade, year to year. He's giving them a specific breakdown of his zip code. And you have a scene, they're kind of all being asked by the auditors of the Commonwealth. You have Mercer, who's sort of standing there and ominously in the background. And it's cool to see him finally in the Walking Dead television series. This is the first time we've ever gotten to see Mercer in The Walking Dead, a long-running comic character that at least he's going to get these 24 episodes, and they're bringing him in now because the series is kind of coming to a close here soon. But Eugene's really funny. Then you have Yumiko and she, as they're kind of leaving. Princess is moderately funny here. Sometimes she finds out two of the guys or whatever, and they can take their arm at a particular time and try to break out of there so they don't get reprocessed over and over again for months and months and months. But then Yumiko sees the wall of missing people, and I was wondering what they were going to do with this, because in the comic version, on the wall, you see Michonne, who finds a picture of her daughter. Now, obviously, in the television series version, they can't do that. First of all, Michonne's not there. And second of all, I don't even think that she has a daughter in the television series version. You have to go back and look at some of the lines that she said. RJ and Judith, you've got that. But, she might have had prior, but, TV series version definitely has to be different for that, just based on the roster that we have. So they give it to Yumiko, and they make it her sister is probably there at the Commonwealth, so she's going to likely want to stay. And so we'll see if maybe the rest of them leave, or if they all decide to stay, because it seems like they've got a clear shot out of there now. And it's just a question of whether or not they're going to, or they're going to stay and kind of endure. So that's pretty much all I want to say about the Commonwealth stuff. It's not the most exciting, but it's necessary for them to do. It is from the comics, and it does set us up for a longer running storyline that will take us through to the end of the season. So we have Negan, Maggie, and Daryl in a group, Duncan and the others, that are going through Washington, and they're getting a lot of rainfall, so they decide to kind of either stay for the night or kind of proceed on forward. And you get the sense that Maggie is sort of leading this venture right now, so they decide to kind of go into a metro type station and then go underneath and try to continue on through. But it seems like there's flooding in there, you can get maybe a flash flooding under there, and there's a lot of rainfall, so they're kind of worried. There's some sounds coming from the pipes and whatnot. Alden is there too, and you get some arguing with Negan and the others as the scenes go through here. Some funny stuff between him and Maggie. I like the part where she tells him she doesn't give a shit. It's pretty funny, and the line from him about her being a Pied Piper, leading them to their doom, right? So Daryl hits him, right? Negan, I feel bad for Negan in this one, sort of, until the end, right? Everybody hates him. Everybody's beating him around. Daryl's beating him up. Maggie's almost shooting him and stuff, and he's kind of getting thrown around and stuff. He does save one of the kids there, who gets into it with a fat, a well walker. If you guys remember season 2, they had the well walker that was all bloated and fat and stuff, and they lowered Glenn into the thing, and they were almost got him killed. We see a walker that's sort of similar to that. We even get a teddy bear, which is kind of cool, and kind of a mass grave underneath. People have been dumping these walker, half-killed walker bodies into, that are still kind of, some of them are reanimating and whatnot. So Negan does use the crowbar to kill this fat, sewer bloated well zombie. And they kind of watch him, and he's using the crowbar, and he hits it in the head, right? So it's shit. The rest of them kind of give him a death stare. So he's just, to say he's outcast would be an understatement in this one. And but he's basically their tour guide. They kind of need him because he knows the locations and whatnot. But he's fighting in everything, and he's arguing with the leadership decisions they're making because of his past, him being leader of the saviors, all that stuff. He's not used to taking orders, and it seems like it's not natural for him from what you can kind of see in this one. Even if he has to do it for a little while, it's like he can't. Even though his life could be in jeopardy if he really, and he knows it too. He even says it after, but he just can't help himself but fight and argue about the decisions and everything. And him and Maggie have some serious heat here. Now the ending surprised me, which we'll get to in a minute, because it's a bit of is it a cliffhanger or is it a subway train hanger? It's a pretty cool kind of scene at the end here. So we're leading up to this. They kind of get stuck. A bunch of walkers are coming in, and he also calls her a dictator and says it's a death march, and that he's kind of out, but he sort of doesn't leave. So then you get some walkers coming in. Some of them are going missing, whatnot. A bunch of walkers are coming in. They're kind of pushing through the tunnel. And so then you have Dog, who, runs off to the one side and is able to kind of sneak through a certain spot because the walkers are coming. So Daryl kind of has to go off that way. And I feel like pretty confident Daryl will be fine, right? Like Daryl will figure it out. If he has to kill 100 with his knives or whatever, he can probably do it, and it'll probably be all right. But the rest you don't know. So they go up on top of the subway train car because they can't get it open. Duncan's trying to smash it open, but he can't. We get the sense he's probably the strongest of everybody there, and even he can't break it open. So they go on top. They start to kind of go forward, and then you get a wicked cool part at the end with all the fighting and stuff. It comes down to Maggie kind of hanging off, sort of being grabbed by some of the walkers that are down there, and then Negan coming up and seeing her there, and a critical slow-mo, I guess, decision here, which I love, right? So you have Maggie hanging off, in peril, maybe almost getting killed by walkers right here, possibly, and then you have Negan who's there, who gets to decide, who has to decide here. And I'm surprised the others left and allowed this to happen, transpire somehow, but I guess they couldn't see. It was tight up in there, and there was all stuff going on. Daryl's over here, Dog's over there, and stuff's happening, so they don't exactly know what's going on, and it comes down to Maggie hanging off the back, and then you have Negan who comes up and sees her there, and so he gets to choose if he's going to save her or not. And I thought he was going to save her. Like, I just thought, like, okay, whatever, but Negan probably feels bad about, Glenn and everything else that he's done. He kind of created the monster, right? Like, he can be mad at her, but she's kind of part of his creation, right? Like, because of what he did before with Glenn and everything else, he made her what she is in a lot of ways. So I thought he was just going to grab her and pull her up and save her, but a nice kind of twist for me, because I thought Negan would do that at this point. I thought he was kind of like, more on the good guy side now, but I guess everybody's outcasting him, whatever, and he's being an opportunist here. So instead of doing what I expected him to do and pull her up and save her right then and there, he leaves. He leaves her there. So she's getting pulled down by the walkers, and is he going to give her a hand? And he doesn't. He chooses to, he's out, and then he leaves. I was like, whoa, that's pretty awesome. So I do think Maggie will probably survive. I know it's a pretty awesome cliffhanger moment to end the episode off, because you're definitely going to watch Acheron Part 2. But, I think Maggie will survive. I don't think she'll be killed off here, but I love the way it comes right down to that. And I was surprised, because I really thought he would save her and everything else, but he is kind of pushing her to the point. And if she does survive this, which I think she probably will, there's gonna be recompense for this, But it's an awesome ending for the first episode of the season. I'm going to give it a 9.3 out of 10. I enjoyed it, as I always do with Walking Dead. Getting ready for this weekend, I wasn't sure, if I was going to be that excited for the episodes or anything, but because it is coming down to the last season now, right? So it's kind of sad at the same time. But once I started watching a little bit, once I got in, 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, oh, awesome, Walking Dead again. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. So I love this episode. I love the ending. And I'm really happy with the way they're kind of using Negan and Maggie off of each other. But I am very surprised that Negan didn't save Maggie. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about that. I think it was probably the wrong decision. I think he definitely should have. But maybe Negan isn't quite as good as I kind of thought in my mind that he was, because the way I think of Negan is like I would think that he probably would save her, but I guess based on how they were treating him and everything else, if she doesn't make it, then maybe his life is infinitely better after. And based on how long he's been alive in the zombie apocalypse, that's something where he's going to take that opportunity for a chance that she doesn't come back, so that he can kind of start to. It's kind of like the governor, like in season 4, when he sort of retakes over Martinez's group, like he takes the opportunity. But in this case, not forcefully. It's kind of a more passive. I'm not going to kill you, but I'm also not going to help you up and save you either. So that's it for this review, guys. I'll be back again soon for more videos, maybe a live stream tonight. We'll see. And awesome premiere for The Walking Dead season 11. Loved it. Let me know what you think. Leave your comments below, and I'll see you again soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace later, guys. See you soon.